Hey, it's James from survivalpunk.com. Good morning. It is 60 degrees. Finally, not chilly. Not cold anyway. 60 degrees is a fine temperature for the morning time. And today, we're going to continue a thought that I had at the end of yesterday's episode. And that is using group buys for survival. Group buys is something I've been playing with a lot recently. It is a thing that I've done a few with a friend of mine and organized a couple in the spaces I'm in. But it hit me yesterday on the podcast that it could be so much more than even how I'm using it. One, there's a possible outcome that I completely knew about. But how could you use this for other things, like getting cheaper meat? We'll talk about all of that today. Before we get into that, though, let's take a listen to our morning theme music.
In a war gone mad, survival the key. DIY kings with a plan to be free. Clapping for the fall when the system breaks. Learning from the past, fixing our mistakes. Resilience built on sweat and grit. Fight for life, gotta never quit. From the city streets to the wild unknown. With our hands we carve the stone. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go.
And we're back. What is a group buy? It's exactly 100% what it sounds like. Buying things as a group. There are a lot of benefits to this. Generally, it works something like this. For anything, right? It doesn't matter what the thing you're buying is. This absolutely works for everything. You have a host. The person that will be providing the service of the group buy. You, the host, handles everything. So you'll be the one that does the purchasing of whatever it is. It doesn't matter. You will find the product. You will find the product. You will talk to the other members of the group buy, and that when you find the item and the price for it, you will communicate the price to the customers, the other people in the group buy. They will tell you what they want to do. You will buy it and you will give it to the customers. Let's just go with widgets as the example. It doesn't matter what they are. There's blue widgets, red widgets, and orange widgets. Customer A wants 5 red widgets, and customer B wants 10 orange widgets, and you yourself are doing the group buy because there is oftentimes some amount of profit to be had. Not always. You absolutely can structure a group buy so that you're making a profit. Me personally, I generally tend to do group buys because I want the widget myself, and this is a cheaper way to get the widget. And we will say the widgets come from China. We'll talk about a different example as we go on. The widgets come from China. It costs, let's say, $90 to ship the widgets from China to you. So even though the price for the widgets is fantastic price on widgets, you then got to factor in the $90 shipping for the widgets. And then you run the numbers, right? Because you're a smart person. You run the numbers. You see that if you bought the widgets in America, not American-made widgets per se, but they are simply being shipped to you from America. The widgets all originate from China, but this other person bought them, and now they're in America, and they're shipping them to you. They charge many times more for widgets than does China. And they say that they're charging more because they've tested that the widgets are indeed widgets, and it's easier to pay them for the widgets than it is to pay China for the widgets. If you have any idea at all what I'm talking about, you're like, yeah, James, I get it. So anyway, you look at the American widgets and you see, even with the $90 shipping, these Chinese widgets are still cheaper on a unit cost. It still makes more sense to pay $90 shipping. However, you got a couple buddies, or you've made some online friends. They too want widgets. So what you do is you do a group buy. You take the money from them and you buy all of the widgets that everyone, including yourself, wants. You split that $90 up between everybody buying widgets. And the more people you get, it gets really cheap. For being a group buy host, the other part of it is, so you have to factor in the cost of splitting the shipping between all the people. You have to, when you get the widgets, you have to make the order. So customer A, they wanted 5 red widgets. So you have to package up in new packaging customer A's 5 red widgets. And then you have to mail them to them, say the post office, right? So that's the other part of the cost. Generally, from my experience, what has happened is it adds a couple extra bucks. Like, I went to Walmart and I grabbed a bunch of bubble mailers and some bubble wrap, and I took the widgets and I put them in a bubble mailer and I mailed them out through the post office during Christmas. I think Christmas Eve. I think I was mailing fucking widgets on Christmas Eve, y'all. Anyway, and it basically came out from when I factored in splitting the shipping, buying the bubble mailers and bubble wrap, and mailing them out through the post office. I believe I charged $20 a person. You don't want to be willy-nilly coming up with these numbers. The first time I did a group buy, I did some rough and tumble dirty math. And then it ended up, so there were some fee transfer issues and stuff. I probably ended up, I had to pay out of pocket a little bit. But when you factor it out, I still saved a ton of money. So it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You want to be smart and run your numbers, or do what I did going forward, and that's feed all of the widget information to ChatGPT and have him figure out how to do it. If you're good with spreadsheets, do your spreadsheet. Anyway, in that case, it was a price per widget plus $20 shipping and handling fee on my part. Also, another key benefit of doing a group buy, not always, but often, there is some discount wiggle room. If you're making a group buy and it's a large order, a lot of times, not only are you sourcing the cheapest place to get widgets, but you can ask the person selling the widgets for a discount. Or I've seen deals like spend over X amount of money on widgets, get free shipping. Then your cost goes down a lot more. So you've taken out that $60, $90 shipping fee, and you're now at free, which makes everything cheaper, right? That is, and I'm talking about air quotes widgets. It can be a lot of things. There There are so many things that you could buy in bulk and split. That's going to be what the rest of the episode is really going to be focused on. So you're thinking, well, James, you know what? It's a cool concept. And if I was a widget user, you know what? I might get in on this. It doesn't just have to be widgets, right? I have talked multiple times about building your local survival community, getting friends, helping each other out. There's a lot you can do survival-based, preparedness-based, that you could use a group buy for. Number one example we're going to talk about right now is meat. There is a lot of ways to use a group buy for meat. Right now, while talking, I just thought of another one. Let's start with my original idea. You like steaks. Who doesn't? Steaks are fucking delicious. However, inflation has made steaks become completely unaffordable. No, steaks are so fucking expensive now. I remember back in the day, I would buy steaks, and as a single man with a decent salary at the time, slightly less than what I make now, in a lower position, but inflation was a lot less back then. I would just basically eat steaks every day, right? And not high end. Like, I would buy a chuck eye steak because it was maybe $4 a pound before people realized chuck eyes were fucking delicious. And now they're also expensive. You get someone in your group that either has access to a Sam's or a Costco, or where is my cooler at? Anyway, or there's a local butcher or someplace where you can get, are they called primals? To get beef primals. What I'm talking about is like a chuck roll or a whole ribeye, one of those beef primals. It's going to be a large piece of meat that has the ability to cut multiple steaks out of, multiple ribeyes, maybe tenderloins, chuck eyes, chuck roast. You're going to get a lot of meat from one of these things. They are going to cost like north of $100. In most cases, you might be able to get one for like 84, maybe. Restaurant supply warehouses, some of those have these primals for restaurants to cut their steaks out of. When you look at the price per pound, and with meat, always look at the price per pound. The price per pound on these primals will be much less than the finished product. So, looking at like a chuck roll, you're going to be looking at somewhere like, I don't know current numbers. I've heard some at one point. We're just going to, and it fluctuates. There's no telling when you go listen to that. We're just going to say like $3.50 a pound, right? The chuck roll is $3.50 a pound at James Mart. Buying a chuck roast is $9 a pound, and a chuck eye steak is, let's say, $12 a pound. All of these made up numbers from James Mart. James Mart sounds like a dick. He's overcharging shit. I don't like what he's doing, but that's what it is. So you can see that, yes, although you're paying like $130 or whatever for the chuck roll, in that chuck roll, which is $3.50 a pound and not $9 a pound, you can get several steaks and roasts and maybe grind up a little bit of the rest from that. So you have to spend a lot of money up front, but then you're better off. Well, what if you don't have a big freezer? What if you don't have a lot of storage space? And what if you don't have a fucking $140 or whatever to spend buying a chuck roll right now? You do a group buy. Something like that, you probably wouldn't need a lot of people. The next example, you could absolutely use, I don't know, 5 or 10 people. Get off my fucking tail, you stupid piece of shit. I'm doing the speed limit. If you don't like it, go the fuck around. I'll go slower. I will absolutely go slower. Anyway, you get in the example of a chuck roll, you probably don't need to split it up that much, right? I would say 2, you yourself and one other person, or honestly, I would be like 4 people is the max, and that's for like maybe a week's worth of meat. So you think about it, if you're spending 130, you drop that down to like $60 a person. You go 4 people, you're talking $30 for meat. That meat probably is only going to be enough for, a week or a couple of days. But if you go, I don't know, how much money are you spending on meat in like a week or 2 week period, right? You do 2 people, right? You're spending $60. You get your 2 weeks worth of meat that you'll need for that, right? Obviously, you're not going to only eat beef chuck, for 2 weeks, but $60 for 2 weeks for meat is a pretty good deal. You go to Sam's Club, you go to Costco, you buy the chuck thing, you cut it up, you split it out, and you're good to go. So that is an absolute great example, and one that I'm probably going to do with Couch Potato Mike. That's one that definitely makes more sense to do locally. You're not really going to make a bunch of online friends like you are in the widget example and be mailing off meat. If you think that's a good idea, but you want to save even more money and get even more meat, and possibly do even more work, you do a group buy on some portion of a cow, right? We all know that you can get like a quarter, a half, or a whole cow, you look around, you can definitely find one of these, right? Like where you buy a butchered cow, the price per pound is so cheap, but then you're dealing with, a bunch of meat, which is great, but if you don't have the space and the time, it's not so great. So you get a couple buddies and your price goes down, because I think I looked it up. Maybe a half cow, the last time I looked, was, let's just say $1,400. It could be completely wrong, and it wasn't recently that I looked. $1,400 could absolutely be a quarter cow. I don't know. But for math purposes, let's just say that's what it is, right? How often can you really drop $1,400 on meat? Like, that's a big upfront cost. Yes, amortized over time, it does make a lot of sense. But also you have to store that, right? How many friends can you get with and split a cow and have the storage capacity that you need filled, right? If you've thought about that, like, obviously the quality of buying a local cow is better, right? That it's processed better usually, not a mass market thing. Contamination probably going to be better. You don't know what's going on in those big meat processing plants. Your local guy, John, he probably does a great job. Anyway, this is one of those things where, like, you split this between like 10 people, right? You're looking at like if you ask me to get a tenth of a cow, and I don't know how much meat that is, but it's probably a lot of meat. I mean, not a lot as in you're going to have a year's worth of meat, but you probably can get like a month's worth of meat for like $100 or something. And that, you have to run the numbers, you have to check and see. But I think that opens up a whole new world right there. Yes, you have to go deal with this shit like, maybe once a month or so, and you have to source. I know a lot of times there are waiting lists to have cows, and maybe you get on multiple waiting lists, and every month you get a new cow, and your cow split, and people do it, and you get together and you all collect it and you split it up and you go pack it away. And you know what? There's no way that I just invented this. I bet you, I swear to God, if you look around, you probably can find people doing this. And if not, if you're willing to be the organizer that starts the whole ball rolling, I bet you people would jump on it. They're like, yeah, I'm in. I will give you money and I'll help you split it up. That'll be great. But also, this episode is to get you thinking, right? What else could you do? I've absolutely seen, there's is it Azure Blue? There's a bulk company you can order from and get like big buckets of rice, giant things of coconut oil. You can buy a lot of bulk stuff, and they go to like a parking lot with a semi, they open it up, and you collect your order. And you do spend a lot of money, but you get a giant bulk amount of stuff. You can then, with your group of people, split that up, and everyone saves money. So how many things could you do that are like this? How many things could you buy for a great price in bulk and then split it up between people and everyone get what they want for a great price? So hopefully today's episode got your mind thinking. If you're interested in widgets, you can always email me, james@strawpunk.com. We can talk about widgets. But that has been James from strawpunk.com. DIY to survive, you guys.
In a walk on that survival the key. DIY kings with a plan to be free. Clapping for the fall when the system breaks. Learning from the past, fixing our mistakes. Resilience built on sweat and grit. Fight for life, gotta never quit. From the city streets to the wild unknown. With our hands we carve a stone. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. Against the tide, bold we flow. Hey ho, let's go. Hey ho, let's go. In this chaos we grow. Every day we patch and mend. Self-sufficient till the end. Chosen hand, souls on fire. Rising up from the mire. From the podcast waves, the wisdom flows. At 25 seconds, you already know. Survive the storm with skills we earn in this punk life. The tables we turn.